Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we started this text Vakya Vritti. That is an exposition, an exhaustive exposition on the Mahavakyas. There are 4 Mahavakyas from the 4 Vedas. The first Mahavakya is Prajnanam Brahma. This is from Aitreya Upanishad, belonging to Rig Veda. Prajnanam Brahma is the Lakshana Vakya, followed by Tattvamasi, which is from Chandogya Upanishad, belonging to Samaveda. Tattvamasi is the Upadesha Vakya. This is what the Guru Upadeshis for the disciple. Tattvamasi, thou art that, you are that. Then I am Atma Brahma. This belongs to Mandukya Upanishad of Atharvana Veda. It is the Anubhava Vakya, I am Atma Brahma. The last comes Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is the Prastava Vakya. It belongs to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad of Yajurveda. So these are the 4 Mahavakyas, out of which this particular text will be dealing exhaustively with the Tattvamasi Mahavakya. That is the Guru Upadesh. That is the most important Mahavakya, because that is the Guru Upadesh, having given the Lakshana Vakya, that is Prajnanam Brahma and Tattvamasi, you are that. So, we began our last session with whenever a new text begins, the teacher, the Acharya, the Rishi of that text always begins with the invocation of the blessings of the Lord as well as of Sadguru. Sarga Sthiti Pralaya Hetu Machintya Shaktim Vishveshwaram Vidita Vishwam Anantarupam Nirmukta Bandhanam Apara Sukham Burashim Shri Vallabham Vimala Bodhaganam Namami. So prostrations to that pure consciousness, Vimala Bodhaganam, Shri Vallabham, that is the beloved of Lakshmi. So the cause, Sarga Sthiti Pralaya, that is the creation, maintenance, sustenance and destruction. Hetum, the cause. Achintya Shaktim, that is, that cannot be thought of, unthinkable. Vishveshwaram Vidita Vishwam Ananta Murtim, takes numerous forms, having endless forms. Ananta Murtim, having endless forms. Yet, Nirmukta Bandhanam, it is absolutely free from the limitations and bondages of the form. Nirmukta Bandhanam. Apara Sukha Amburashim, shoreless ocean of bliss or happiness. So, prostrations to such a Lord. Then, of course, the blessing, grace and blessings of Sadguru is also invoked in the second shloka. Yasya prasadat ahameva Vishnuhu mai eva sarvam parikalpitam cha itham vijanami Sadatma Rupam Tasyangri Padmam Pranatosmi Nityam. So again and again I prostrate to the lotus feet of that Sadguru. Guru. Yasya Prasadat Ahamiva Vishnu. So by grace of this Guru alone, the disciple has realized his true self as Vishnu, culminating in that wisdom that I am this all-pervading, Mayeva Sarva Parikalpitam, Cha Itham Vijanami. So he has realized that he is the all-pervading entity on whom this Vishnu, on whom the entire world of names and forms has been superimposed. Itham Vijanami Sadatma Rupam Tasyangri Padmam Pranatosmi Nityam. And to such a one, my prostrations. Then we saw in the third shloka, this is an important shloka, third shloka, because this is the reason most of us will take to spirituality. Tapatraya arka santaptah kashchid udvigna manasaha. So now someone who has been fed up with this world is samsara. Tapatraya arka santapta. The son of these three types of tapa. The three types of tapa, that is Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik tapa. The sorrows, miseries and pain that come to the unknown sources, that is called as Adi Daivik tapa. And the sorrows, miseries or pain that come from the things and beings around us, that is Adi Bhautik tapa. And then Adhyatmik tapa is our own body, mind, senses giving us the trouble. That is Adhyatmik tapa. So tapatraya arka santaptah, caused by this, the tapa, the sorrow of these three types, kashchid, someone, udvigna manasam. In this someone, all of us are included. Because unless we are troubled, we will never venture into this search for happiness. If everything is hunky-dory, everything is well, we are financially well off, physical health is good, psychological health is good, relationships are good, social relations, family relations, everything is good, a palatial home to live in. So everything is nice, the weather is conducive, environment is conducive, everything is conducive. Who will think about oneself? Who am I? Where have I come from? Did I exist before my birth? Will I continue to exist after my death? Or is my existence limited between birth and death? Or if I existed before birth, what was the nature of that existence? Or if I continue to exist after that, what will be the nature of that existence? Who will think about all this? Nobody will think, if everything is good. So they will not bother. So therefore, these are required. The sorrows, miseries and pain that come in the life, that is for vairagya, so that we will start thinking, life cannot be just this. Am I born to suffer like this? Is this life? That's all and nothing else, because everybody suffers. Nobody, whether he is a billionaire or he is a pauper, everybody suffers. Because the suffering is there, the body itself gives us a lot of trouble. Body is pre-programmed to self-destruct. So it will continuously modify itself, and while this modification is going on, it is troubling us again with aches and pains and all that thing. Not only that, even if there is no aches and pains, it is a big chore. Every day in the morning, we have to wake this body up, give it a bath, take it to the washroom, give it a bath, put clothes on that, feed it, and then take several times in a day to the washroom. And then it will have aches and pains, and then the treatment and all that thing. It is a big chore. Who wants to do all that thing? And there is no joy, pleasure, or happiness in that. So whoever it may be, everybody suffers. This is plain and simple. So, Kashchit Udvigna Manasaha. So, someone who has suffered like this. So, in that someone, all those who suffer and then they think. There are ignorant people, even after they are undergoing the suffering, they don't think. Even such people, having suffered a lot in this life, when they are on their deathbed also, the only thought that comes to their mind is that this life was not good. I hope I get a better life next time. So, having suffered so much, this person still wants to have another life. Is it not enough, the sufferings of this life? However good the life may be, the body will end. If you have a form, the form has got limitations. The form has got bondages, the form has got limitations, and we will suffer because of those limitations. There is no point in having this form. So we have to get rid of that. So tapatraya arka santapta kashit udvigna manasa. So such a person who has thoroughly analyzed this world, analyzed his life and everything, and then come to this conclusion that this is not the life anybody would want to, and this is not my reality also. Am I born to suffer like this? Because nobody wants any kind of suffering, sorrow, or misery in this life. So that means our inherent nature is of bliss and happiness. So therefore, all of us want to be happy. Nobody wants to suffer. If our inherent nature was misery, sorrow, and pain, we would have not rejected this. We would have not tried to get rid of that. No. Because our inherent nature, essential nature is of blissfulness. That is our nature. And therefore, we cannot tolerate even an iota of sorrow, misery, or pain in our life. We cannot tolerate that. So therefore, an intelligent person will start thinking, this cannot be the end of it. That I have gone, and we see lots of inequalities everywhere also. Different people suffer in different ways, but suffering is there common to all. This cannot be the story. We are born and die. That is not the thing. There has to be something beyond the apparent. So that has to be investigated. Because what appears cannot be the whole truth. And appearances can be deceptive. So how many people think on those lines? Very few people think. You see? So this is what, and such a one, then he starts looking for a solution for all the problems of his life, all the sufferings of his life. Now he wants to end it all. He's looking for solution. Such a one only takes to spirituality in earnest, because then he finds that he can get some solace, some solution only in spirituality and nowhere else. So in such a one, Shamadi sadhanaihi yuktah sadguru paripruchati. So such a one who has acquired all the qualification that is required to be an adhikari of this knowledge, to walk this path, he approaches Sadguru and then he asks him. So what does he ask? Shishya uvacha anayasena yena asman mucheyam bhavabandhanat tanme sankshipya bhagavan kevalam krupayavada. Anayasena. We always want an easy way out, an easy solution. Anayasena. You see? So anayasena means without much effort he wants. Yena asman mucha yam bhavabandhana. So without much effort, I should be liberated from this bondage and this limitation. Bhavabandhana. Bhavabandhana, that is being born again and again. So bhavabandhana. Anayasena. So these sorrows and bondages. Tanme sankshipya, in brief, Bhagavan kevalam krupayavada. So merely explain to me, please tell me, what are the means, what is the means effortlessly I can get rid of all these bondages and be liberated from this. So this is how the disciple has approached the Sadguru. Here we have seen in the last session. Now today we'll take up a new shloka for discussion. Shlok 5. Gururuvacha sadvite vachan vyakti pratibhati vadamite idam taditi vispashtam savadhanamana shrunu. Savadhanamana shrunu. Sadhvi. Now Guru Ruvacha. Sadhvi, excellent. Now Guru is praising the disciple who has approached him. Because his approach is very good, his thinking is very clear. To ask a question, the doubt should be clear in my own mind if I want to ask a question. Sometimes I am confused about my own doubt, so I cannot ask a proper question. So here, the Guru is praising the sadhaka, the shishya, that he is very clear. Sadhvi, excellent, te vachan vyakti, pratibhati. You have expressed very clearly what you want. Vadamite. So, I shall tell, Vadamite. Idam tad iti vispashtam. So, that is this. Idam tad iti. Tad iti idam. So, that is this. Vispashtam, very clearly, I will tell you. Savadhanamana shrunu. Savadhanamana shrunu. Savadhanamana shrunu, with full concentration, with single pointed mind, with alertness. Savadhani. Savadhyami का नाम ही साधना होता है. Savadhanamana shrunu. So with full concentration, single pointed mind, alert mind, we have to listen, because this is a very subtle subject. So therefore, we have seen earlier that surrender is required. When we surrender, there is a relationship established, a relationship of devotion, of prema, of love, of faith, that is established. And then it is easier. We have experienced this maybe in schools also. The teacher whom we like very much, we love very much, even if that teacher is teaching a tough subject, we'll put all the efforts to learn better from the teacher, because we want to impress that teacher. We like that teacher very much. And a teacher whom we don't like much, and even that teacher is teaching very easy subject, we will not pay attention there. So here, that relationship in spiritual, the teacher and the taught, the Guru Shishya relationship is very sacred. So that has to be established. Only then the communication can be very clear. We have to think properly to ask question very clearly. Therefore, here Guru says Sadhvi, excellent, he has communicated very well. Communication is also an art. We should know how to communicate properly. Some people are very good at communicating things very clearly without any ambiguity. Some people are confused about, they are not clear in their mind what they want to ask. And they are so confused. And the listener also doesn't know what this person wants. So one has to be very clear. Communication is an art. Communication problems are also there. There should not be any gaps in communication. If what is said and what is heard, if there is a gap, generally the first gap comes in what is said and what is heard. Did we hear exactly what was said, or we missed something out of that? So first gap comes between what is said and what is heard. The second gap arises between what is heard and what is understood. Then the third gap arises, what is understood and what is interpreted. And then there is a fourth gap that arises, what is interpreted and what is communicated to others. Then it all becomes like a Chinese whisper. So the speaker said something, by the time it reaches N person, and the thing is something else. Many years ago, this has actually happened in Maharashtra. In those days, this telegraph was there, and we used to send telegrams. Now this telegraph is all out. So most of the time, this telegraphic machine will not work in the post office. So the sending post office will convey the message on the phone, and the receiving post office may note it down. Now, the customer who wants to send this telegram, he has conveyed the message. The post office fellow is conveying it on the phone to the other person. What he says, what he hears, what he understands, what he interprets, and by the time the message is delivered to the destination, it turns out something else. This once a message like Babu's marriage fixed with Limai's daughter was to be passed, and the same thing happened in the post office. By the time the message reached the destination, Babu's marriage fixed with Limai's daughter became Babu's garage mixed with lemon water. So this is what the communication problem is. When there are gaps in what is said, what is heard, what is heard, what is understood, what is understood, what is interpreted, and what is interpreted and communicated further, then this is what happens. So for the communication to be very clear, there has to be perfect tuning between the teacher and the taught, the Guru Shishya. So for that, the Shraddha has to be there. If that Shraddha is not there, then we will not pay much attention. And when the attention is not given, then the problem is that we will not understand things properly. There is a story about a disciple who approached a guru for knowledge. So Guru told him that you stay with me over a period of time, you will be imparted the knowledge. So one day, Guruji was explaining to him about a cow. Now this fellow had never seen a cow, maybe from some modern, ultra-modern city, never seen a cow. So Guruji was explaining to him the cow, four-legged animal with horns, tail, and then he said that it gives a very delicious liquid, white liquid called as milk, very tasty it is. So, armed with this knowledge, this disciple was traveling through one place and he saw there was an idol of a cow, and nearby there was a house being whitewashed, and there was a can filled with whitewash paint. So he remembered that Guruji talking about an animal with four legs and tail and all that thing, and this whitewash paint, he thought maybe it is the delicious milk. So he drank that, and then after that, whatever had to happen, happened. He landed in the hospital. And then he was very angry with his guru for giving all the wrong information. Of course, when Guru heard about his disciple, he ran to the hospital to see him, but the disciple refused to see his face. But gurus have love for their disciple, which even 1,000 pair of parents cannot give. That much love a guru has for his disciple. So Guru calmly asked him, tell me exactly what happened. So then the disciple related the story. You told me about that cow and all that thing. And then I saw that a house was there and this tin was there and that white liquid was there. So I drank that. So Guru understood what must have happened. Then Guru asked him just one question. Did you yourself milk the cow? Had you yourself milked the cow, you wouldn't have landed in hospital today. So therefore, attention has to be given very clearly so that we understand what is said. There should be no two ways about it. When half-baked knowledge is taken, this is what happens. So, savadhana mana shrunu. So, listen with alert mind. Now, having said this, we move on to the next shlok, shlok 6. तत्त्वमस्यादि वाक्योत्थं यज्जीव परमात्मनः तादात्म विषयं ज्ञानं तदिदं मुक्ति साधनम। तत्वमस्यादि वाक्योत्थम य जीव य जीव परमात्मनः तादात्म्य विषयं ज्ञानं तद इदम मुक्ति साधनम। Now, direct knowledge, direct means of knowledge, that is the total identity. Now, Tasvamasyadi Vakya, that is the Mahavakya, the various Mahavakyas. Yat Jiva Paramatmanaha Tadatma Vishayam. So, that which establishes the oneness between the Jiva and Paramatma. Tadatma Vishayam. Tadidam Mukti Sadhanam. That is the means for liberation. That is the immediate means for liberation, or direct means of liberation. So, direct means of knowledge is getting rid of the avidya or the ignorance which results in a wrong identity and therefore the subsequent sufferings. If there is no wrong identity, there is no suffering. Or if we had wrong identity because of which we are suffering, and immediately once we come to know that that was the wrong identity, the moment that identity goes, our sufferings immediately disappear. You see, there was this story of a person. He saw his factory burning. So he ran to his father. Distress, he ran to his father. Father, our factory is on fire. And he was all distressed and panicky. But his father was all calm and cool. So he's telling, Father, I'm telling you, the factory is on fire and you are so calm and cool. Relax, son. We sold that factory a week ago. So as soon as the son came to know that the factory has been sold, then all his sufferings disappear. Because now he is not identified with that factory as the owner of that factory. As long as that identity was there and that factory was on fire, he was suffering. The moment he came to know that factory has been sold, and having sold it, now someone else is the owner, so he'll be suffering. So he doesn't have to, the identity is gone, immediately suffering is also gone. He's no more the owner of that factory which is on fire. That's it. So we suffer because of wrong identity. And the moment that wrong identity disappears, all the sufferings that was caused due to that wrong identity, that will also disappear. So when Phala-vyapti takes place, there is bondage. So what is the Phala-vyapti and Vritti-vyapti? There is a difference between Vritti-vyapti and Phala-vyapti. So what is the difference between that? This is a pot is Vritti-vyapti. Just a thought. This is a pot. What is the Phala-vyapti? I know this is a pot. That is the Phala-vyapti. So there is bondage in Phala-vyapti. Just having the knowledge, this is a pot, that is it. I know this is a pot, then when I identify with that thing, my knowledge with that, then that is the problem. A person is passing by and he slips and falls, we simply sympathize, okay, I hope he is not hurt. But that person who slips and falls is somebody very close to us. I know that person has fallen. And then we are more concerned. So when Phala-vyapti takes place, there is bondage. In Aham Brahmasmi, there is no Phala-vyapti. There is only Vritti-vyapti. There is no Phala-vyapti. So here, that is the direct means of knowledge. That which establishes the real identity between Jiva and Paramatma. So yad Jiva Paramatmanaha tadatma vishayam jnanam tad idam mukti sadhanam. And that is established through this Mahavakya like Tatvamasya Vakya. Tatvamasya, Tatvamasi is actually the Upadesha Vakya. Now, having said that, the disciple has a question now. Shishya Uvacha. O Jiva ka Parashatma Tadatmyam va Katham Tayoho Tatvamasyadi Vakyam va Katham Tat Pratipadaye. Kah Jivah kah Parah cha Atma Tadatmyam va Katham Tayoho Tatmamasadi Vakyam va Katham Tat Pratipadaye. So now the disciple is asking the question, having heard this, what you said, that Tasvamadya Tatvamasya Adi Vakya, that will establish the identity between Jiva and Paramatma. So Kaha Jiva. First thing is that he wants to know, first define what Jiva is, Kaha Jiva and Kaha Paratma, Parha Atma, that is Paramatma. And how is the identity between the two established? Tattvamasyadi Vakyam va Katham Tat Pratipadayet. How this Tattvamasyadi Vakyam, how can they both be identical, and how this Tattvamasya, this Vakya, can help us in this identity. So prove it. Tat Pratipadayet. You discuss and prove it to me very clearly. You see, you have just said in the previous statement, Tattvamasyadi Vakya will establish the identity between the Jiva and Paramatma, and that is the direct means of liberation, Mukti Sadhanam. So now you prove it, how it will establish. You have said it, so you have to prove it. First, tell me what Jiva is. I do not know what Jiva is. What is defined as Jiva? Who is this Jiva? And what is Paramatma? So this Tvam and Tat both will have to be defined first. And then their relationship between the two, that is defined by the word Asi, Tattvam Asi. So first, what is Tvam? Then let us know what is Tat and how the identity between the two is established. So it is easy to make a statement like that. But in the other subjects, now all those who approach Vedanta, we all have come through our schoolings and university education and all that thing. And we studied all the subject as an objective subject. We have learned it as an object. So that was very easy. That was easy to learn because we studied as an object. But here we are studying the subject. Subject itself is the, what we call that, subject itself is the item for study. But then it cannot be objectified. Object is different and subject is different. Now we are studying the subject itself, which cannot be objectified. That is the difficulty. So therefore, in Vedanta, we find it difficult to impart this knowledge. It is not easy. So the primary Adhikari Pad should be there. Now, having said that, Guru Vacha, Shlok 8. Atra Bruma Samadhanam Ponyo Jivaswame Vahi Yasvam Pruchasi Mam Koham Brahmai Vasi Na Samshayah. Guru Vacha, Atra Bruma Samadhanam. So what did the Guru say? Atra Bruma Samadhanam. That is the answer. I shall tell you the answer. Kaha Anyah Jivah Twamevahi. Who else? Then you yourself. Yat Tvam Pruchasi Mam Koham. You are asking me who am I? Brahma eva asi na samshayah. You are that Brahman alone. There is no doubt about that. Na samshayaha. So he says that Atra Brahma Samadhanam, I will answer you. And then says that who else can that Jiva be? You are alone that. Yat tvam puchasi mam koham. And you are asking me, who am I? You are nothing other than Brahma itself. Brahma eva asi, na samshaya. There should be no doubt about that. So, now the thing is that as regards, now as soon as the disciple hears that Brahma, I am Brahman, I am that absolute truth, I am that Paramatma, impossible. How can I be that? So, nobody says that gross body is I. Generally, we refer to gross body as mind, isn't it? We have an ownership kind of relationship with the gross body. When we refer to gross body, my leg, my stomach, my hand, my eyes, my nose, my ears, so it is an ownership relationship. We own this. And in the world around us, whatever we own cannot be I. Whatever I own cannot be I, isn't it? We have seen this when we were going through the reasons why I cannot be the body. So, my computer, that means I'm not the computer. I'm other than something other than computer. My cell phone, my computer, my house, my car, and so on. We refer to these as mine. So that which we refer as mine cannot be I. Similarly, when it comes to the body, mind, intellect, and senses, also we refer to as my hands, my leg, my stomach, my eyesight is failing, my mind is depressed, my intellect is not functioning today, and so on. So we refer to these as mine. So therefore, when we refer to this, a simple way of understanding is it cannot be I. So whose it belongs to? Then it is the ego. See, that has to be understood very clearly. So who is experiencing the sansarik sukha dukkha? It is the ego that is experiencing all that thing. He himself, that ego itself is the karta bhokta, the experiencer, the doer and the experiencer, that ego is there. So consciousness, now Guru is telling the Shishya, who else? Jiva tvamevahi. You are the Jiva. Yat tvam pruchasi mam kaham. You are asking me, who am I? Brahma eva asina samshaya. Understand that you are Brahman alone, and there should be no doubt about it. Now, the consciousness in you illumine the doubt that arose in you. Understand that the thought has arisen in the mind. Without the consciousness illumining the doubt, there will be no awareness of that. The first thing we have to understand that the consciousness illumines the doubt, and then only you become aware of those words, who am I? Because there is a gap. These thoughts are not produced by the intellect. It is very, very clearly demonstrated by one neurosurgeon, Benjamin Libet. He said that there is a time gap between a thought arising in our intellect or manifesting in our intellect and we becoming aware of that. There is a time gap. So if there is a time gap between the thought manifesting in our intellect and we becoming aware of that, that means this thought doesn't belong to us. We become aware of that. By a fraction of a second, we become aware of that, but we capture it as our own. Intellect is a receiving station, like a radio station. It doesn't produce thoughts. So it is a receiving station, and then we capture it and say that it is mine. So we become aware of it only when the consciousness illumines that. So without that awareness, there won't be such a doubt that who am I? you won't be asking this question to me without the consciousness illumining those words in your intellect, in your mind, intellect equipment, in your intellect. If consciousness doesn't illumine those words, that doubt won't arise and you won't be asking this question to me. So that which illumined the doubt is the one consciousness, and that cannot be other than you. So consciousness that illumined your doubt illumines all the thought modification, all beings. You see? So therefore, the question is, Brahman, who is this? The questioner himself is Brahman. So the consciousness will illumine the thought. So the questioner himself is Brahman. That is why he said that, Ko Brahma eva asi na samshayah. The consciousness, because the other things you cannot be, which you call it as your own, this cannot be. So the questioner himself is Brahman. So the identity, we have lost in wrong identities. These wrong identities are causing problem to us. But in our day-to-day life also, we are so lost in those identities and we take it for granted. And when we take it for granted, if anything is taken for granted, we suffer. You see, we cannot take anything for granted in this life, but we have taken all these different identities for granted, and that is why we suffer. So when things are taken for granted, we get shockers in life. Like our Mullah Nasruddin took something for granted. Mullah Nasruddin's wife wanted to keep a pet monkey. And of course, Mullah Nasruddin will not have any of it. He said, nothing doing, no pet monkey at home. But this Mullah Nasruddin had to go on a tour somewhere for a few days. So the wife got an opportunity and immediately got a pet monkey. When he returned from the tour, he saw the pet monkey. He was of course very furious. But what could he do? Now the monkey was already at home. So then he asked his wife, where will he stay? He said, he'll stay in our home. And what will he eat? Whatever we eat, that is what he will also eat. And then he asked his wife, and where will he sleep? Wherever we sleep, he'll sleep there only. So this Mullah Nasruddin couldn't take it anymore. So he shouted, but what about the stink? What about the stink? So the wife said that, look here, as I have learned to tolerate the stink, over a period of time, the monkey will also learn to tolerate the stink. So when we take things for granted, we get shockers in life. This is what it is. So we have taken identities, different identities as real, and therefore we suffer in life. Like for example, one man, he is the son of a father, he is a husband of a wife, and he is the father to a son. So this one man is simultaneously son also, husband also, father also. Three different identities with related to three different persons. So he identifies it with reference to his father, he identifies himself as his son. With the reference to his wife, he identifies as a husband. With reference to his own son, he identifies himself as his father. But the person is the same and three different identities are there. These three different identities are superficial. The real thing is the man. Man is not different. Man is the same. The different identities have been established. And these identities are causing the problem. So here, Guru tells the disciple that consciousness which illumined your thought, your question, your doubt, who am I, and all that. So that was illumined by that consciousness, and you are that consciousness, and not the body which you have to identify. So, ko jiva tvam evahi, yatvam pruchasi mam koham, Brahma eva sina samshayah. So you are that Brahman alone, that consciousness, that pure self, you are that. Now, having said that, Now the disciple, of course, when he hears this, that Guru is telling that who is asking the question? You are asking the question, you are yourself, because what illumined the thought in you, that is the consciousness. So understand that. But that is not enough. By saying this much only, I don't realize myself to be Brahman, the absolute truth or whatever. So Shishya Uvacha. Now he says that Padarthamev janami natyapi bhagavan sfutam aham brahmeti vakyartha pratipadye katham vada. Padartham eva janami na adya api bhagavan sfutam aham brahma iti vakyartha pratipadye katham vada. So, padartham eva janami. I don't even understand the word meaning. Now he's telling his Guruji, padartham eva janami na janami. So, I don't even understand the word meaning, what we have said. Bhagavan sputam. I have not understood this very clearly, the word meaning itself. Aham Brahma iti vakyartham pratipadya katham vada. How can I comprehend this aham Brahma iti, that I am Brahman? It is not possible. So you say that, you keep on insisting that you are Brahman, you yourself are that, and all that thing you keep on insisting. I don't even properly understand the word meaning. In a sentence, there is word meaning. So that is the Shabdartha or Vachartha is there. Then Vakyartha, the meaning of the sentence is there, the full sentence. Then there is Lakshartha, the indicative meaning of that is there. So the disciple is saying that I have not even understood the word meaning. Forget about the Vakyartha and then the Lakshartha. So how am I going to comprehend this Aham Brahmeti Vakyartha? So this is a genuine doubt. This is a genuine problem the disciple is facing. It is all easy for you to say because you are a great realized master. You are Shrutriya Brahmanishta and all that thing. But I cannot comprehend it. So please explain. Now, Guru Vacha, 10th shloka. Satyamaha bhavanatra viganam naiva vidyate hetu padartha bodho hi vakyarthavagateriha. Satyam aha bhavanatra viganam na eva vidyate hetu padartha bodha hi vakyartha avagatehe iha. Satyamaha. So you have said truly. What you have said is the truth. Satyam aha bhavanatra. Bhavan, what you have said atra here. Viganam neva. There are no two ways about it. There are no two opinions about it. Vidyate. Hetuhu padartha bodha hi. Hetu padartha bodha hi. The meaning of the words and its understanding should be very clear. Vakyarthavagateh iha. So this understanding of the sentence containing those words also should be very clear. So we have to go word by word. Therefore, in Vedantic study, every word is important. So word to word meaning first, then the Vakyartha, then the Lakshartha, it goes like that. And then the explanation of that particular shloka comes. So here, Guru, he accepts and he says that he agrees with the student, with the Shishya, that what you are saying is right. So we have to go by this word to word meaning, then the meaning of the sentence, and then the Lakshartha, and like that way only. Sometimes same word may have different meanings in different context. Same word is used in different context, different meaning will be there. And sometimes the same sentence is there, but by changing the punctuation, you can have diametrically opposite meaning also. So in subtler subject, it has to be we have to be very, very careful about it, how we interpret that. So sometimes one word has got two different meanings, but used in two different contexts, like that. Like, for example, there is a poem, The Pulley by George Hubbard. In that, he is describing the creation, and God has the cup of gifts which is bestowing on man, strength, wisdom, honor, pleasure, and all those things he's giving. And then rest in the bottom lay. So this sentence comes in that poem, rest in the bottom lay. Now, rest has got two meanings. Rest in the bottom lay means whatever is left over. One meaning is whatever is left over. But rest also means relaxation, peace. So rest in the bottom lay. So which meaning are we taking? The leftover we are taking, or we are taking the peace or relaxation that we are taking? So rest in the bottom lay, and Lord was about to bestow this gift of rest or peace of mind to man. He withheld it. And then he said that on the pulley of restlessness, a man should be restless. He may have everything he wants in this world, and yet he will not be happy, he will not be satisfied. He has to be restless. And on the pulley of restlessness, I will pull him towards myself. So this rest has got two different meanings. In different contexts, we have to use that. Similarly, another word we can use, so many words can be having two meanings. So a bark at the window woke me up. Now bark, the word bark has got two meanings. One is the dog's bark also, the other is the wooden bark of a tree. So we have to look at the context. If the bark at the window woke me up, that means it must be the dog's bark. It cannot be the tree's bark. So we have to understand that different word, the same word will have different meaning in different contexts. So in what context it has been used, that has to be understood. And then again, the punctuation also is very important. If the punctuation changes and same sequence of words are there in the sentence, with the change in punctuation, the meaning of the sentence also completely changes. For example, a professor, English professor, told the students to punctuate a sentence. Woman without her man is nothing. So the boys punctuated, woman without her man, comma, is nothing. And the girls also punctuated, woman, exclamation mark, without her, comma, man is nothing. So now it is the same sentence, same sequence of words are there, just change in punctuation has given a diametrically opposite meaning. So this is mundane statements. What about the subtler truths about subject like Vedanta? So therefore, Guru accepts. What the student says is that what we have said is correct. There are no two ways about it. We have to understand the word meaning properly, the meaning of the sentence properly, the Shabdartha or Vachyartha, Vakyartha, and then the Shabdartha properly. Then only we can get to the root of it. So, having said that, then we move on to the 11th shloka. This is an important shloka. Antakarana tadvrutti sakshi chaitanya vigraha ananda rupa satya san kimnatmanam prapadyate. Antakarana tadvrutti sakshi chaitanya vigraha ananda rupa satya kim na atmanam prapadyate. Now again, na atmanam. Why don't you recognize that self? Now, which is embodiment of antakarana tadbuddhi sakshi chaitanya. So it is embodiment of chaitanya, that is consciousness, ananda, bliss, and sat, existence. So this is the essence of that. So that illumines that chaitanya which illumines antakarana tadbuddhim sakshi. So that it is the homogeneous mass of pure consciousness that illumines your inner equipment, antakarana. Now, Chaitanya, Sakshi Chaitanya. What is this antakarana? And tad vritti. Here vritti is the what you call functions. Here in this antakarana vritti is the functions of antakarana. Antakarana. So this antakarana is where the ego manifests, and that is the jiva or the experiencer, the karta bhokta, the doer and the experiencer or the bhokta. So antakarana tad vrittim sakshi chaitanya vigraha. This homogeneous mass of pure consciousness illumines all the modifications that are taking place in the mind intellect equipment. So that is the experiencer. So now the body, we see the body functioning through the karmendriya, the organs of action, through the jnanendriya, the sense organs. But karmendriya and jnanendriya, they cannot function on their own unless they are connected to the mind intellect equipment. So basically it is the intellect, and mind is also the instrument of the intellect. A slight division has been made in Vedanta. So mind is the seat of emotion, where the intellect is the seat of thoughts. Intellect decides everything. So now the body is functioning, the organs of action, the sense organs, the mind intellect equipment. It is easy to take this mind intellect as the self also. So it is the jiva, we take that because ego manifests there in the intellect, in the reflected consciousness. So now here it is said that antakarana vritti sakshi chaitanya vigraha. Sakshi chaitanya. Chaitanya is the witnessing consciousness. It witnesses all the activities of the body, mind, and the senses. It is the witness of that, and it powers for them to function. Without the power from this consciousness, the body cannot function. This insentient body cannot function, nor the mind or the intellect. Mind, intellect also are inner. They cannot function without the consciousness. So consciousness is the one whose presence everything happens, and it is Sakshi. Sakshi is witness. It is not the participant in that. So this is the Sakshi Chaitanya. Now, from here onwards, the next 16, 17 verses, the Twampada Nirupan is there. So now Twampada Nirupan is going on. What is this Twam? So Guru is explaining to the Shishya, what is this Twam? Now we have got this body, sense organs, organs of action, mind, intellect, equipment, and whatever modifications are going on there, whatever functions are going on there, it is witnessed by this consciousness, this consciousness only illumines all the modifications, and they have the activity according to that. And we can easily mistake it as I. This buddhi, we say that, okay, with buddhi only I function in this world, so buddhi should be what I is. So, but then buddhi is absent, temporarily absent in the deep sleep state, but that doesn't affect our existence. We continue to exist to the deep sleep state in the absence, temporary absence, or its absorption in its own source in the deep sleep state. So we cannot be that buddhi. So it is easy to consider that buddhi to be the self. So now here Guru says that antakarana vritti sakshi chaitanya vigraha. Then ananda rupa. So ananda rupa, where our essential nature is bliss. We cannot tolerate even the slightest sorrow, misery, or pain in our life. So, like our eyes are very delicate organ. It is continuously, it is moist, it is kept wet, moist, it is kept continuously. And if even a minute foreign particle enters our eyes, immediately the tears come to get rid of it. Even a small piece of hair falls into that eyeball, on the eyeball, immediately the tears will come to get rid of that. It cannot tolerate any foreign particle even for a moment. Try to get rid of that. Similarly, our essential nature is bliss. Knowingly or unknowingly, we do not know. That is our infinite bliss. And therefore, we cannot tolerate any sorrow, misery, or pain in our life. Even slightest sorrow, misery, or pain we cannot tolerate, because that is alien to us. That is alien to our nature, our essential nature. So therefore, we cannot tolerate that. So that is Ananda Rupa. We are independent of everything. Ananda Rupa means we are independent of everything. That is the real meaning of Aham Brahmasmi. Independent of everything means there are no limitations and no bondages. That is the real thing. So we are of the nature of bliss, Ananda Rupa, Ananda Swarupa. And then Satyaha. So that which remains the same in all three periods of time, in the past, present, and future. That which is not subject to any modification. That is Satya. It is Nitya. It is the same in all three periods of time, beyond time. It is not bound. It is not limited by space and time. So that is Satya. So it all remains the same. And consciousness that illumines all the modifications, all that thing, that is all independent of this. Itself is not subject to any modification. It is eternal, Nitya, and it is Satya. It is existence pure, absolute. So that is indicated by this Sakshi Chaitanya Ananda Rupa Satya. That is indicated by that. Now, here, that which expresses as Sat in the gross body, that is at the level of existence, because gross body is inert, so it is only expressed at the level of existence, as Chit in the subtle body, and because consciousness is reflected in the intellect, so it expresses a Chit in the subtle body, and Ananda in the causal body. Causal body, the deep sleep state, Anandamaya Kosha. So it expresses an Ananda, because nobody wakes up from deep sleep state and say that I was miserable. No. So the rishis call this, that which expresses as Sat, that is at the level of existence in the gross body, as Chit in the subtle body, and as Ananda in the causal body, the rishis call it as Satchidananda. Sat Chit Ananda. So this is the expression. So expression of this Sat in the Jada is called as Tamasic. So in the Jada it is Tamasic. This Sat expresses only as existence. So it is Tamasic, but it expresses in the mind as the Rajasic, because then it becomes, all the activities start from there. So the mind intellect equipment gives the instructions, and according to that, the body's activities also start. The karmendriyas and jnanendriyas act like that. And of course, the same expresses in the Shushupti Avastha as Ananda. So here, now, Guru has explained in simple terms, Satchidananda, you are the witness to all the modifications that are taking place, and you are not that, you are other than that. Now, why don't you understand that? Son, kim na atmanam prapadyate? So having said that, he is asking, why do you not recognize your own self? Think, analyze, and you recognize your own self as being something other than this. Now, having said that, further, the 12th shloka, further explanation is given. What is that? We will see in our next session. Now, if anyone has got any questions to ask on the topic that we have covered today, they may ask. If nobody has got any questions, so should we conclude?
Pankaj bhai. Anybody's got questions?
No.
Swamiji, can I be heard?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Clear, Yogi Bhai?
Yeah, we
yeah,
can
yeah,
hear.
yeah.
We can hear.
Now, Swamiji, you said about the gap between the thought and becoming aware of it. There is a time lag. Now, there are crores and crores of thoughts which are floating in the universe. So why the certain thoughts comes to me and certain thoughts to somebody else?
It is like the radio you are having. It depends upon what station you tune into. BBC London or All India Radio. So the station you tune into, that is what you will get.
But is it according to the one's vasanas?
Yes, of course, what we entertain continuously. So that is what it is, according to our vasanas, according to the samskaras. So that is how the thoughts will attract. A scientist who is continuously thinking of a particular research work, so he'll get that kind of thoughts will manifest there for him. And that is why even Einstein said that he has discovered whatever discoveries he has not made it the normal process of thinking. So it has just flashed into his mind. So it has, when he fine-tuned his mind to the pocket of that knowledge, it just flashed into him, because all the knowledge have always existed. There is no new knowledge. You see, that is what we also accept in an Indian subcontinent, in our culture. We accept there is no question of question of any copyright or all rights reserved or patent. Therefore, knowledge was freely shared. Nobody claimed it to be their own. So this knowledge has always existed. Nobody has discovered anything new. Only then, when you fine-tune your mind, you tap into that pocket of knowledge. That is what you get. In school, we have read that in chemistry, there was this scientist, this chemist called Kekul. And he was constantly thinking about what should be the structural formula of benzene. And then while he was thinking about that, contemplating about that, and he fell asleep. And then he dreamt that there were two snakes and they were intertwining themselves and they form a hexagonal shape. And that is how he got the structural formula of benzene. So this is how it is that when you are constantly thinking about it, to tap into that knowledge. That is why everybody doesn't have the same thoughts. Depends upon what radio station you tune into.
Now, Swamiji, so on the basis of this, can I assume that more I study the spirituality, particularly Advait philosophy, I am tuning my mind to the pure consciousness, or the the ultimate. Hello.
Yeah, we are listening to you.
Yeah. So can I assume that the more I give my thinking process to learn my thinking process to the Satchit Anand, the pure consciousness, I'm tuning my mind towards that.
Yes, of course, definitely, without doubt about it. That is why this contemplation goes on. Why the great masters, they retired to the forest and mountains and all that thing for tuning purpose only. So that tuning, once that tuning was done, they tapped into that knowledge. Revelation came, and suddenly the identification with the body was gone, and they are into their own self. So it took time, but that is the tuning process that is going on. What are we doing is that after that, listening to the scripture, Shravanam, then Mananam, Nididhyasanam. So these are the processes. Then we reflect on that, contemplate on that, meditate on that. So these are the different processes that we go, and that is how these are the ways we are tuning our mind to tap into that. And suddenly, one fine day, we transcend the mind itself, because that knowledge is not any other knowledge, like our knowledge of object. Knowledge of the self is not any knowledge of object like we can tune in like a radio. But here, when we tap into that, exactly what happens is that we transcend the mind intellect equipment, because this is not an objective knowledge. It is a subjective science. So then we transcend the mind intellect equipment itself. We become thought free, and we get into a thought free, objectless, pure, blissful awareness.
Swamiji, Sat, you said that Sat Chit Anand expresses the Sat in the gross body, Chit in the subtle body, and the Ananda in
Causal body.
causal body. I did not understand how Chit expresses in the intellect.
It because there the consciousness is reflected, and that is where the expression of the consciousness comes. That is where ego manifests. When it is reflected in intellect is the only instrument where consciousness can reflect, and that is where ego manifests. And therefore it what you call it enlivens the body, and therefore it expresses. So it is therefore it is called as rajasic also. Jada, gross body is called as tamasic, and the subtle body is called as rajasic, because all the activities begin from there only. Once the intellect gets enlivened with the reflected consciousness, ego is manifested there, and that is how all the activities start. So therefore it is called as rajasic.
So Swamiji, it's the Chidabhas, no?
Can I finish? Can I finish? Then you can go ahead. Huh?
Okay.
Because it's a continuous thing. So Swamiji, this life goes from the intellect to the gross body and enlivens the gross body as well as subtle body, but it's a borrowed light from the life from the pure consciousness.
Yes.
Is it so?
Yeah. So it is only consciousness. Actually, if you look at it, there is only consciousness, there is only pure self and nothing else. Everything else is superimposed on that. That appears to be there. And therefore, there is no permanency to that. They are subject to limitations of space and time and causation and objects. That is there. So, and therefore, they are appearances only. There is no reality to that, absolute reality to that.
Okay. Who was, you can go ahead. Who wanted to speak? Padmini?
Hello?
Yeah, Padmini, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that it is the I wanted to ask Swamiji, that's the Chidabhasa, no? That's
reflected consciousness is Chidabhasa.
Yeah. Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, this is apart from today's book and study. In one of the dream state, that article that we had taken up, and then subsequently we did a summarized study last Tuesday on the entire number of books that we have been doing since the past. So in one of the discourses, you had mentioned that self is that entity which does not come in and go out of samadhi. So what is it that comes in and goes out of samadhi? Question number one. Question number two, does deep sleep state can deep sleep state lead to samadhi?
No. Deep state cannot lead to samadhi. Finish.
Okay.
The other one is that the one who gets in and gets out of samadhi is the jiva.
So that means the ego?
Yeah. Ego is jiva, that is it. So that one is the one who gets in and out of samadhi. Whereas this I had mentioned in the article on deep sleep state, the entity that is in the waking plane of consciousness without being a waker, in the dream state of consciousness without being a dreamer, in the deep sleep state of consciousness without being a deep sleeper, and the one in the samadhi without being the one getting in and out of samadhi, that is the pure self, that is the real self.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Now, Swamiji, some lighter moment.
Yes.
Last Friday, the participants were there, and the feedback I got was that I did not understand anything. like in the 9th shloka, he says everything went over my head.
The disciples said everything went over my head. I didn't understand anything. You are saying that I don't even understand the words. What to understand about the meaning of the sentence and what to understand the indicative meaning.
and even went to the extent that my vertigo subsided only next day.
But actually, last session was not a Vedantic session. Last session was a simple session. Only the invocation of the blessings of the Lord and the Guru, and then the one who approaches the Guru, and then his condition and his qualification, and then the question that he asked. So it was not a complicated, it was a simple one that everybody experiences. Kaschit udvigna manasa. Everybody is Kaschit udvigna manasa.
It is the introduction to the subject that went bouncer.
Okay, the introduction before the shlokas.
Yeah.
Vakya Vritti.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the clarification, as we go further, the clarification will come.
Swamiji,
Yes.
Hariam Swamiji, I wanted to ask, suppose we concentrate on that, and like my personal, like I want to be alone, and I am alone, I would love to be alone. If I keep thinking on that, there will be some time that I'll be really alone. I wouldn't miss it, means I wouldn't feel I'm alone. I would enjoy it.
Solitude.
No, that is the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is something nobody wants, nobody likes. Okay. Loneliness, and when nobody is there and one feels lonely, and could be boredom also, but solitude is something we actually enjoy. So there is a difference between being in solitude and being lonely. Lonely is actually a disease. Feeling lonely or being lonely is a disease, but being in solitude is not a disease. So you actually enjoy being alone, that is being in solitude. But again, you are not against having company also. So neither this nor that. So you enjoy the company also, and if nobody is there, you enjoy your solitude also. That is even better. If somebody is there, you enjoy the company, you are happy. And then if nobody is there, you are more happy. So enjoy your solitude. So that way.
No, but enjoying solitude is something, but I always think that suppose I'm enjoying, I would love to enjoy solitude, but because there is a body involved, so you have to have some company around to make it go through.
But you have to have that, but have Sakshi Bhava around you. That's it. Simple way of doing sadhana is have Sakshi Bhava. Be a witnessing consciousness. Sakshi Chaitanya, as it was mentioned in the 11th shloka. So be a witness to everything, not only what is happening in your body by intellect equipment, but what is happening around you also. Be a Sakshi, be a witness to that, without getting too much involved or without being attached to anything like that. Then that will be a sadhana.
Anybody wants to ask question, or should we conclude? Swamiji, no questions, I understand.
We'll conclude then.
Yeah, we'll conclude.
Dachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.